Inventory management in DayZ is one of the most underrated things you need to consider. It can literally make or break your game and has dozens of negative effects if done incorrectly, but it also has a lot of positive ones when done in the right way. So here I'll show you what you should keep, where and how you should keep it, and a bunch of other useful tips that will absolutely improve your game. If you liked the video, please leave a like or a subscribe, it really helps me out. But without further ado, let's get into the video. I think I see a gun. I really need a gun. Never mind, I really need another gun. Let's start with weapons. Your weapon management largely depends on your playstyle, but as a general rule, it's best to stick to just two primary firearms, a mid-range, such as an assault rifle, and a long range, which can be whatever you feel is right. Limiting yourself to around 2 magazines per weapon usually gives you all the firepower you'll ever need for most encounters. It's easy to fall into the trap of thinking, I'll keep this just in case, but 99% of the time that only ends up weighing you down with unnecessary gear, and the heavier you are, the slower you move. Most gunfights are done pretty quickly. Another option you could consider, and one I do quite a lot, is carry just one primary weapon along with a detachable scope. Many mid-tier or higher tier weapons allow you to quickly attach or remove a scope, offering flexibility while saving inventory space. While this approach doesn't provide the same versatility in range as carrying two different guns, it can be more efficient in the right scenarios. Just beware, gun jams are more likely to happen with poorly maintained guns, so keep that in mind, because if you only have one and it jams, it takes you out the battle for a bit. It's also wise to carry a silenced pistol, but again, keep it down to 2 or 3 magazines maximum. Your priority with the pistol should be to find a holster as soon as possible. The silenced pistol, or Mark II, is absolutely perfect for dealing with infected quietly and safely, making it an essential part of your kit. As for grenades, 2 frag grenades are all you ever really need. I usually skip smoke and flash grenades, but if you are a player who uses them, one of each is more than enough. It's very rare you'll actually get to use them. It's extremely rare you'll get to use them more than once. Next, let's talk about medical supplies. There are 2 essential must-have items for most players. They are tetracycline and multivitamins. I also recommend keeping a pox antidote or a blood bag on hand, just because gas attacks can happen wherever and whenever. Another crucial but neglected item is morphine. Always carry a dose with you, since it lets you keep running even when injured, a game changer in combat. An EpiPen is also handy for giving you a stamina boost when you need to sprint for longer, especially if you're carrying heavy gear like plate carriers, which are ridiculously heavy. As for bandages, 2 is really all you need. If you're particularly accident prone, then maybe add another one, but most players will just need the 2. On a related note, I sometimes place essential medical items in the quick access menu. That way, if I'm under fire, I can quickly slip around a corner and use a bandage or morphine or an EpiPen without digging through my inventory. This quick access has saved me so many times, so keep that in mind. When it comes to food, I recommend eating all you find, but if you feel more comfortable keeping something on you, keep 1, maybe 2 tins. It's easy to think you need to hoard every piece of food you find, but it's really not necessary. There's quite a lot of food in the game. Extra food just adds weight, and you can usually find more as you go. Stick to a single, at the very most 2 tins, and eat what you find along the way. Hoarding food slows you down and feeds your enemy when you get killed. Water, however, is a different story. Always try to carry a cooking pot. It holds twice as much water as a canteen, plus you can attach a stove and store a gas canister in it as well to cook on the go. If you're using a canteen, attach it to your belt as soon as possible to free up some space. The reason I recommend carrying a water bottle but not food is because drinking makes you quite vulnerable when you're at a pump. For tools and melee weapons, the baseball bat is a solid 2-handed option. You can upgrade it with the nails and barbed wire for adding cut damage, and it's a much lighter alternative than the likes of the sledgehammer, which is about 4 kilograms heavier. Knives are also essential, but 2 are all you really need. Hunting knives items are ideal because they can be stored in your belt or shoes depending on your gear, which saves even more space. You can even make a rope belt using a single piece of rope. If you're into fishing, carry some rope and a couple of hooks. There's no need to lug around a fishing rod since long sticks are always nearby. You can easily craft a rod when needed and then ditch it once you're done. There's just no point in keeping one with you all the time. There are a few other items worth considering, but their usefulness will depend on your preference. Things like a can opener for food, a leather kit for repairing armor and shoes, a lighter or matches for starting fires, disinfectant for treating infections, and duct tape for clothing repairs are all handy things to consider. Duct tape and the leather kit will work well together, allowing you to repair most of your clothing on the go. I strongly recommend always carrying a leather kit since your armor will take a beating during combat, but epoxy putty is also super useful for repairing things like helmets and plate armor. A good tip, by the way, is to keep an item on you can store things in, such as the part or maybe a protector case. The reason why is because when you suffer damage from a shot, it can damage other things in your clothes. However, if they are within a container, they won't suffer damage. Just keep in mind, if something is stored within a container, you can't add it to the quick menu. But try to always avoid picking up unnecessary items like random types of ammo you'll never use, sticks, stones, or extra clothing. Anything that's abundant in the environment and easy to gather when needed shouldn't be taking up valuable inventory space. Just because something seems cool doesn't mean it's useful. But one huge thing you need to know is managing where you store items is just as important as what you store. I like to keep non-combat items like food, medicine, and tools in my backpack. Meanwhile, anything I might need during a fight like ammo, bandages, EpiPens, and morphine, I store in my clothing. This way, if I get into a gunfight, I can quickly drop my backpack to improve my stamina and potentially save my supplies if I die. Remember, holding your breath to steady your aim requires stamina. Later, I try to retrieve the backpack if it's still hidden, though an experienced player might notice it's missing and search the area if you're killed. Now, realistically, you're probably not going to have all of these items right away. More often than not, you'll get taken out before you're fully geared, as is the life of a DayZ player. But knowing what to aim for helps keep your inventory efficient and organized. For example, if you're short on bandages, disinfected rags are a good substitute, and if you don't have a holster, just keep your pistol in your clothing. This isn't to say you can't tailor the setup to your playstyle either. You can also carry items for trading depending on the server and what's in demand. For instance, nails are a great trade item that take up hardly any space. Keeping spare ammo for magazines or high tier weapons can also be valuable on certain servers. Just remember that everything in your inventory should serve a purpose that supports you or your survival or your strategy. To recap so far, prioritize carrying 2 primary guns, a silenced pistol, 2 frag grenades, a baseball bat, 2 knives, tetracycline, multivitamins, a pox antidote, and no more than 2 bandages. Consider adding an EpiPen and morphine as well, they are extremely useful. I recommend 1 tin of food, at most a cooking pot, a gas canister, and a stove. For tools, limit it to 2 ropes and a couple of hooks, a leather kit, a lighter, and duct tape. Feel free to adjust this list to fit your needs, but avoid anything unnecessary. The goal of this video is to show you that with fewer items in your inventory, you can be way more effective than somebody carrying loads of food and a dozen guns. In fact, you might even be able to cut down a few items from the list. Just don't go too minimal, because that can also leave you vulnerable. Ultimately, it's about finding the right balance for you. But one of the most important things is knowing how to get more storage and inventory space, and the way to do that is to click here, or for something else, click here. And as always, until next time.